Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to IKYA Live, world news from the spiritual perspective, and your premier news program for practical spiritual advice in your everyday life. My name is Andy, and I am the operations manager here at IKYA Center in Oslo, Norway, where winter has only just taken hold, a bit later than usual. And before we get started tonight, a reminder that IKYA Live is a news program unlike others in that it's a direct exchange between you and the spiritual teacher IKYA. It really depends on us being curious and asking questions and offering our perspectives so that IKYA can help us unfold the topic this evening. So please already now begin to write in your comments or questions in the chat here on YouTube Live. We also have a live studio audience and they'll be offering their questions. So let's make it a lively exchange tonight. Also, like and share tonight's episode already now before we get started so that as many of your friends and family and fellow spiritual seekers can join us in tonight's conversation. Finally, also remember that it's important that we try to really engage in the topic and raise our consciousness as high as we can so that we can begin to look at this topic from the spiritual perspective. And the topic tonight is wintertime. With that, we have a special guest joining IKYA tonight, so we'll have some really interesting perspectives, and we look forward to hearing what you are wondering about and what you have to offer about wintertime on your spiritual journey. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to IKYA by asking IKYA, please start and tell us about the spiritual potentials of wintertime.
You know, the funny thing is that when you look at human history, humans used to be a lot closer to nature. Right? We are the product of this planet and product of this nature, which means that all throughout evolution, this life form has been relating to the different seasons, climates, this and that, and we have changed. Our bodies have adapted. And then when we got to Industrial Revolution, we decided, no, we don't need that anymore. We can do whatever we want, and that's also a freedom. But genetically, in our nature is still very much bound to nature and the seasons and the knowledge about how to use the seasons have been lost. We understand it when it comes to, farming, getting crops. We understand that there's no point in planting during the winter. We have to do that in spring. And, we harvest the crops in the autumn. But apart from that, we don't really relate to the seasons anymore. And there's so much potential in understanding the nature in us, right? And the seasons in us, because it's not just what you look at when you look out the window. The seasons are also happening in you. Just as the seasons are the result of how, this planet moves, how close it is to the sun. We are part of it. So you are experiencing the changes of the seasons in your body right now. But culturally, we've kind of lost the plot when it comes to this. So today we'll dive into this and unpack it. And the surprise guest today, she will also assist you in understanding this even deeper. So we'll have some fun conversations around this in a while. But we'll start with how we can work with nature and what it is in you. Because of course you understand winter when you look out your window, but what is it in you, in your consciousness, in your being, in your body? Now, as you can obviously relate to, when we look at nature, everything slows down, right? It's rest, it's depth, it's dreaming. And we think of that as the opposite of the summer, right? Where it's party all day, party all night, and a lot of everything and colors and living and all of that. Winter is depth and reflection. And traditionally, what humans would do, we would not hibernate, but we have it in us. So it means that we will be more reflective. We will be more connected to ourselves, the subconscious, and the deeper layers of our own mind and process. And this is what we should be doing, right? It's not just that we stay more kind of inside, it's also the withdrawal. And we're saying this is natural. When we look at nature, this is what plants do, this is what animals do. And this is the time to go deeper, right? To just let it happen, because your body and your brain already relates to winter as a time where we're supposed to go deeper. And when we work against it, we can experience more imbalance. It's not as productive. And it's just as unproductive as trying to plant anything during the winter. It's not the right time. Nature will not support it. So in your life too, this is where we reflect and go deeper. One simple thing that you could practice, get more sleep, right? Think of the hibernation in nature, how all plants go into a kind of dormant state. Parts of your mind enjoys that. So you will have a natural ability to get deeper rest, deeper sleep, deeper dreaming, deeper connection. So a lot of your work and process will be moved deeper. In the summer, it's more, outward going. So a lot of your process will be more instantaneous and superficial, social, interactive, right? Because that's summer. So think of the opposite. Doesn't mean that you should become a recluse, but respect nature in yourself. Understand that during the winter, you can actually go deeper in yourself. And when we go deeper and we follow nature, that does not mean depression, right? Often when we try to go deeper in summer, it's more depressive. So understand that this is nature in you longing for rest and depth. So you have a lot of things going on in the subconscious. Think of spring and summer and fall. It's all about being productive in the outer world. And it means there are a lot of processes, a lot of things happening in you, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, that we're not really dealing with, right? It will be stored for later in the basement. And now it's a natural time for a body and mind to go into that basement and go into the deeper issues, right? So your focus should be what is really going on. Not just look at manifestations and what's happening in your life. See that as simply, what's happening on top. What are the deeper processes, the deeper movements in you? So it's a time to kind of look at and where am I going? What do I truly want? What is my life's path? And then also redirect your focus, redirect your attention. Because when you're in the outer world, you will just go and you will do and you will interact. And then you need time to reflect and take a step back to say, oh, well, is this what I want? Am I living my life or someone else's life? Am I following my path or just things happening? So you have the ability to take a step back and assess, right? The easy way to think about this is looking at 1 year as a lifetime, because it is. In nature, it is a lifetime. For many plants, many insects, many life forms, it's a full cycle, right? Each cycle, if it lasts for a year or for a day or for 10,000 years, it will have the same seasons. So when it's in the beginning, it's birth, right? It starts. Then it's living out the potentials. Then it's looking at the manifestations. What did I actually achieve? And then you make the assessments, right? So the interesting thing about gifts during Christmas, this goes back a long way, thousands of years before Christianity. So why did one have gifts around winter solstice? It was because you were to assess, like, what did I actually get out of my productivity this year? What was the essence? What was the kind of, takeaway? And then realizing, oh, everything is a gift from life. And to have, like, what is really important. Because it's one thing to have the crops, and it's another thing to look at it, and look at the crops of your life, and celebrate that, and recognize this as a spiritual process. So there's always been gifts around winter solstice to remind us that we are to focus on what are we actually extracting, right? And think of what plants do. When winter comes, late fall, the plants will extract all juices, right, from the surface plant down into the roots. And then the plant will be the roots. That's the depth. That's what it's really about. The roots are in nature, they're of nature. And it will be in that state until the next cycle. So think of the same thing, that you're to extract and become aware, like, what am I actually doing? And then look at what you have extracted and say, is this what I want to create? And if you think of this as a lifetime, because 1 year is a lifetime, you can connect with it the same way you would if you can imagine when you die, when you leave this lifetime, and you go to a higher level. You will then make an assessment, and you will study this lifetime and say, well, what did I actually learn? What karmic processes were successful? What kind of karmic riddles were I able to solve? How did I heal? How did I grow? Who did I become? And how far in my spiritual curriculum did I get? And you will look at that and you will go, okay, this is where I am now. And based on that, you will then redirect your focus of attention based on what you would like to explore and develop in yourself. And from that point, you will enter a new lifetime, right? Which is then an adjusted version of your journey. And then that will represent your actual point of evolution. And 1 year is the same thing. So during winter, think of it as leaving your lifetime, leaving the kind of cycle of life. Take a step back and to get that overview. So you can look at things and say, oh, all right, this is my journey. And then you can let things die. It's so important also in life to let things die. This is what happens in winter. Life that is part of the forward movement on the planet, it will continue next year. But it's also a time where weak plants and weak life forms will die. And in your own life, you need to understand that anything that exists in your life is because you give it your energy, you nurture it. Nothing can exist unless you nurture it. And when you give it your energy, it will get stronger. And often we get caught up in the games of life, in the karmic exchanges. And because we, during the spring and summer, we operate more on the surface, not in the roots, we can get distracted as well. There's no problem with that, but it's just part of it. And then when we return to the roots, we can work on root causes, right? Root intentions, root direction. And then say, oh, all right, this is not part of my way forward. This is. So you can sharpen your focus, sharpen your intentions, sharpen your sense of direction. And then you set course for the next cycle. And winter solstice is traditionally a point where you both let the old year die, and then there would be the dawn of the new year. So, letting things die is really important, because you don't need everything to be part of your journey, right? For each step of the way, you become more aware of what your journey is. And as a human, hopefully, you will understand yourself better over each year. You become more aware of yourself as a being and as a human. And for each year, you become more kind of self-asserted, self-confirmed, self-defined, and you operate more from your core, more from your roots. Just like a plant, every year their roots should get bigger and stronger. And the plant on top is really there to serve the roots. Right? And think about that. Everything you do in life, that will be the foliage. That will be the plant on top of the soil. Everything you do, but it's not really about that. So winter is for you to reflect, to have that overview, to contemplate, to meditate, to let yourself go into deep rest. We all know that when we have challenges in life, in all cultures we'll say sleep on it, right? And we know that often when we sleep on it, we have the solution the day after. Not always, but we will get closer. And sometimes we can feel, when we go to bed, oh, my life is so full of problems, and the next day we feel better. We say, it's not that bad. I can deal with this, and it's a new day. In winter, it's that process, but for a longer period of time. And when you let it happen, and when you let yourself go into deep rest, deep reflection, deep contemplation, you will find deeper solutions. You will connect more to your roots, more to your true path, and what is in alignment with that. So winter is a wonderful time to become more true to who you are, and for you to look at your life and see, does this actually represent me, what I want in my journey? When it comes to healing, because this is also what we're going to talk about today, healing are a lot of things. I always say that true healing is the ability to not injure yourself or others. It's not the repair work. It is being in a state where you are already in harmony and rhythm and musicality, because then there will be no injuries. As if you go out on the dance floor and you're blind and deaf, you're bound to bump into people. You will step on their toes and they will step on yours, and you will probably fall as people are dancing. And that's basically what we do in life when we're not aligned with our true path, when we're not aligned with who we truly are, and when we're not living from truth. We will be out of rhythm. We will be out of harmony and musicality. So true healing is learning how to be that. So we have to practice it, right? And in winter, then it's time to kind of listen to yourself. Not the superficial self, but the deeper one. And you'll get more answers from the depth of you, because it will be more available. Your brain will change during the winter. And this is what's important to understand. Your brain is already now changing to go into this modality. And today, because everything is about, what's happening around us, entertainment, colors, senses, self-medication, we don't listen anymore. And then we get even more confused. Think like one of the natural superpowers you have is like each winter, you're supposed to calibrate for the longer journey. Just like each day, the night and dreaming and sleeping is supposed to recalibrate you, kind of real time where you are in your life. So the winter is just like that. And we've completely lost it. And think of when you look at your greater journey in life, and you have this natural ability to recalibrate, to redirect, and refocus. But we're all pulled out of ourselves. We're all pulled out of our center due to the collective illness that is the civilization. So we all feel that we're out of balance. We have no sense of direction, no sense of purpose, right? But you have it in you. Each winter, you will have the natural ability to connect deeper to what you're actually doing and why and where you're going. So that in and of itself is such an easy way to get an understanding of why you are here, where you're going and why. Your brain, your nervous system, your body will at this moment be in this process. You have to give it time. So rest, do less. Move to the inner worlds and allow yourself to just sit and do nothing. Right? Often when we sit and do nothing and just like enjoy resting and looking at nothing, we begin to reflect, right? Doing nothing is very important. We live in a civilization where we have the illusion that we need to do something all the time. It's completely natural. Nature is doing very little during winter, and so should we. So allow yourself to go more into this modality of your life, because we need time to reflect. And look at nature, everything is slower. Just like you just sitting, on the sofa in the chair intentionally. And just like listen, reflect. And your brain and your body and everything that is in you will begin to communicate with you and will begin to affect you in setting course. It will begin to calibrate you the same way you may experience every night, but it will be deeper, it will be more existential, and it will assist you in not only kind of finding your true path, but you will feel more confident, oh, right, this is what's going on, because your consciousness knows, your brain knows, your body knows. Because they are all extensions of what you are spiritually. And spiritual work is not that difficult. To me, spiritual work is simply to unlearn all the bullshit we have been convinced is life. That is making us all sick and unhappy. And to learn again what it means to be natural. And to work with nature instead of working against it. Because every time we work against nature, we lose. We produce pain, we produce suffering, we produce imbalance. This whole planet and civilization is a testament to that. So spiritual work is not complicated. It's moving in the direction of going back to nature. Not just nature as this planet, but also the nature within. And you have so many natural abilities that we have, forgotten how to use, right? So you already know how to do this. But do it intentionally, and you will get results. Yes, we had a question.
Yes, we had first a comment from Sandra, who says that as a teen and young adult, she enjoyed the heat, but the older she becomes, the more that she realizes that her body seeks the cold. So for her, it's almost vice versa, that She says, I'm rather frozen in summer and waking up in winter. Which is interesting because for me, like spiritually, emotionally, mentally, I find the winter now to be more attractive for, I think, some of the things you're talking about, whereas summer physically, I feel more alive. So if you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, but it's this that, if you think of it, spring, summer is projection, right? We can be whoever we want to be. We can test out our illusions, and we can lie, and we can sell ourselves, like all of that. But winter is about this, consolidation and extracting. So it's more true. It cools things down, right? When we cool down, there is less conflict. It's more clarity. And we also know this when it comes to temperature, right? People think more clearly when the temperature is lower. We get more focused. Right? When the temperature is higher, it's more hormones, more projection, more risk-taking, which is what we're supposed to do in summer. We're supposed to try everything, get experience, and then during the winter, we're supposed to try to figure out, what did I actually learn? Right? Did this benefit me? Am I healing? So when we are more kind of attracted to that essence and that kind of concentration, we will often seek the cold more. Not always because we're different, but just understanding this process, that's completely natural in all of us.
Okay, we have another comment that I feel like I'm a very different person in summer versus winter. In spring, summer, I feel like I can do whatever. I'm Superman. And then in the fall, winter, I get more humble and I see the reality and where I am. I feel so small in wintertime, and I remember my summer version as more fun and more like the better version of me. Why would I see it this way?
Well, you're just describing what we've been talking about, right? Spring, summer is about testing. It's about the outer world. It's about figuring out who we are, testing things out, living out whatever, taking risks, interacting, doing all of that. And then in the fall, we get the crops. We get the manifestations of that. And then gradually in winter, we extract. So we get more quiet normally, right? And we're supposed to be different versions. We are not just one. Remember that your body and your personality and your brain, as I explained, are part of these seasons. The seasons are happening in you. And just like you can say that, I'm a different person in summer and winter, well, look at nature. Nature is very different in summer than winter. It's the same thing. The change is as radical in us as well. So instead of working against it, work with it. So when we are more quiet and often, as I say, smaller, more humble, it's because that's where we're going. And it means we can figure out a lot. And it can also help us directly, because the connection with the depth and with the roots are natural, and you don't have to work for it the same way you do in the summer. Because in the summer, it's the movement from the roots into the world, right? And fall, winter, it's the opposite movement. So we're supposed to be different people. If we're not different people, we're really not utilizing what the seasons are about. And again, we have this idea today that we should not be affected by nature. So we can say, well, I have like seasonal illness. I've heard so many people talk about that. It's not illness. We are supposed to become different people each season of the year. And when we learn to embrace that, we can become that version even more. We're not supposed to be this kind of consistent person, always the same. It's just like, when you go to the beach, you will wear different clothes than you would, if you go skiing, hopefully. And it's just like that. Life will offer you different opportunities, different waves, different informations, because it's not just about The seasons, it's about the information and vibration and consciousness that become the seasons, right? So understand that it's happening all the time. And when we learn to embrace the seasons in us, our spiritual journey becomes so natural. And we can then also focus on how to utilize the different seasons to become more productive in our own lives. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have a question in the audience.
Yeah. Referring to the question and the comment just now, there is one thing that I recognize in the question, and it's not only that we are different and it's the judgment, it's the feeling of not being productive when you slow down, because you can also be productive by actively slowing down and paying attention to the inner world. So there can also be productivity in that, but I also sense in me, for example, and in a lot of my clients, that movement to go within and slow down there is a lot of resistance there, because then you have to administrate everything that comes up that you haven't addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And also the idea of being productive makes you judge different states. Could you please comment on that?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it's kind of funny that we have in this society, because, after the Industrial Revolution, it's all about producing because of the economy, and it has to grow forever, and it's a big illusion. I said before that, we've been sold the idea that people in the old days, they just worked all the time from dawn till dusk, like every day. No. The average person would work around 150 days of the year, and would not necessarily even be long days, and they would be very slow. After the Industrial Revolution, when we had electricity and light, it means that we could work longer, we could have more productivity. And we've been sold this horrible idea that we should be working all the time, that productivity is only when we can see results in matter. Matter is of no consequence for your spiritual journey, right? I will say it's basically all sand, and the rest is what we project onto those grains of sand. You exist far beyond this form, this lifetime, and you are the same now as you are outside of lifetimes. Whenever you incarnate in other dimensions or, life forms, planets, that's consistent. So it's only the transformations within that represent the real kind of product of a lifetime. When you leave a lifetime, you really don't care about how many things you were able to make or how much stuff you had. It's who you became. The transformation you went through, the unfoldment of truth from within. That's what we take with us. And when we look at it also from a corporate perspective, right? Now, if they just keep producing, and that's all they do, they will stand still. They need to adjust to the market, meaning that they also need to focus on strategies, visionary work, because they also need to assess and reassess their position in the market, what they're doing and why, so they may refocus, realign themselves with the market, focus on innovation and those changes. That's winter. So the winter, when we look at the visionary part of it, that comes from the depth. It doesn't come from just running around doing the same thing, because then you will just be repeating indefinitely. So we need to take that step back to get the overview, to reconnect, and to say, should we do something differently? And that is very productive. So companies who do not emphasize this, they all die. And when we don't, go into these processes, we also die on the inside. And many people today are quite dead inside. And then they self-medicate because they have no sense of purpose, direction, truth, and they're just part of this machine and then nothing. So for the outer life to be productive in the way that we produce transformation, we produce our own unfoldment, we need also that phase where we look at what are we actually doing and why, and should we be doing this, should we try, what is in alignment with our journey. That is extremely productive. And it's what makes the rest of the year really productive. Otherwise, we're just moving grains of sand around for no reason at all. And so many people are doing this, right? They do a lot, and then after a few years, it's like, why am I doing this? It's just because it's not connected to their roots. So this is the most productive thing we can possibly do, because it means that everything we do in the outer world will be in alignment with our true path and who we truly are. But it is interesting, yes, because of this civilization, and we've been sold the lie that it's just like working, right? And if we're not a good person. And that inner work is laziness, right? And also when we're overworked and we don't understand that it's about us, the alternative is laziness or self-medication. The inner work is about establishing true intention so we can live intentionally, right? When we don't do the kind of winter work, we have no intention. Besides paying our bills and surviving and eating junk and watching TV, and just that's another year. When we learn to live intentionally, it comes from somewhere. It has to come from the depth, and the higher consciousness. And we need to feel it in our bodies. It has to incarnate. We need to connect to our roots. And we're not doing this anymore. So people are sick and unhealthy and unhappy. And working with the winter season in us can change everything. Because there is so much healing in connecting with the depth of you, with your true intention spiritually, with why you are here. Because when you begin to live with intention and understand, next year I'm going to produce this is where I am in my journey. You will never feel victimized. You will feel a sense of purpose, right? You will make intentional choices based on what you would like to express, what you would like to explore. And it will transform you and you will know it. Right? And this sense of purpose, most people have lost. So learning to work with winter can be so liberating and such a wonderful experience. So going inwardly, intentionally, is not laziness. It's not disconnect, because that's what we want to do when we're overworked and stressed. Like winter is this intentional depth and connection to the depth of you, and letting that instruct, letting that heal you, letting that recalibrate you, so you will from there feel a sense of direction and purpose.
Yes, we've got several questions here on YouTube. So for several years, I have made research about the dreams, both my own and with a group of people, before and after Christmas time. And as I see it, in the time before the winter solstice, dreams are more about the potentials to come, and after Christmas time seems to be more about the resistance field for those potentials. Could you comment on this?
Yes. Now, this is what is happening around winter solstice. And when we look not just at solstice, but winter as a whole, when it's about reassessing your entire life and your journey, you will look at potential, because from the inner visionary work, think of like when you already know spiritually what you're doing while you're here, what you're supposed to do. And that will begin to influence you through your subconscious, your emotions, your dreams, your thoughts, your reflections, all of that. You will have ideas. You will not always know what the ideas are, but it will bake, it will work in you and through you. You will then connect with potentials, because just like when spring comes, well, then you give birth. It's a new lifetime, so you're trying to plan your new lifetime, right? What that year will be. And that will be the potential. So when we are in the visionary stage, there are no consequences, right? Because it's simply understanding, feeling it out, looking at it, seeing the potential, but you're not doing it yet. The moment you begin to execute the plan, which is the first steps and weeks after winter solstice, then you will begin to experience the resistance you have, because each step, each year will represent a new kind of step on the ladder of your own spiritual unfoldment. So, as I said, karma is the distance between what you believe, which is your current subjective understanding based on your journey so far, and your next step, which represents something more expanded, something closer to truth. And the easy way to understand karma is there's a reason why you are not already there, right? There's obviously something you need to change, something you need to learn to, go from point A to point B. And that is karma. So it's what you haven't learned yet, what you're not able to do yet, what you don't understand yet. And what you then need to figure out is how to learn that, so point B will become your active point of experience. And the distance is resistance. Karma and resistance is the same thing. It means that you operate on a lower level of vibration and consciousness. Knowledge, behavior, like all of that will vibrate. And the vibrational consciousness will be translated into your behavior and your subjective sense of existence. And that will have to change. So when you then are exposed to higher vibration, that distance is something that will be released in you as the resistance. So the resistance will manifest in different ways, showing you, well, this is what you need to deal with in order to realize point B. So in our dream work, before winter solstice, it will be more about the visionary work, and then it's that concrete, well, what do we do? And then all of a sudden, it's more complicated, because now you have to figure out, how do I do it through my subjective sense of reality? And how do I change it? So then we don't want to, right? It's easy to kind of dream and fantasize, and then actually doing it is something else. So that shift is natural. But then the work begins. It's just like when we stretch it to spring, right? It's one thing to have an idea. I'd like to start, growing vegetables. And you can see, ooh, I'm the organic vegetable guy. And then you have to start plowing the field. You have to figure out how, that's work, right? And that's not always as fun as just thinking about it. So, but it's the only way we can learn. Because in that process, if you haven't done it before, I can guarantee you there are thousands of things you haven't thought about, and that you have no idea what to do, and then you try to figure it out. That's how we work with our karma. So this shift is natural, and it's wonderful that you have noticed this, because this is exactly what we're talking about tonight, is that whole kind of winter phase and the kind of winter work, and the real kind of transformations and shifts happening in our minds and how we can utilize it. So thank you.
Yes. When one is drawn to depression during winter, how would you suggest sitting down intentionally without doing anything, without dropping into that sadness? Because I might distract myself a lot to avoid this.
Yeah, understand that depression is simply that you've lost a sense of direction and purpose, right? This is why people are depressed all over the place now. That did not used to be reality. A healthy human will never be depressed. But think of also, we are supposed to understand who we are, what our journey is, how to explore and figure things out. We're supposed to understand what belongs to our journey, the expression, what we're studying. This is a natural thing, right? Our civilization now is destroying all of it and has destroyed all of it. When we have a sense of direction, right? We all know when we're doing something we think is fun and we're productive and we're completely doing it, we're not depressed, are we? Right? So it's the experience of direction, productivity, growing, learning, and this is me, this is who I am. That feeling, a natural, balanced human being will feel this all the time. Right? So it's a cultural thing in this civilization that we've all been manipulated. Again, this civilization is the summary of all of us. So it's not like the big blah, blah, blah trying to manipulate. No, it's all of you manipulating each other into this horrible, horrible bubble of misery. And because we have less sense of purpose and what we're doing and why, we feel this emptiness. And that is depression. And then it means that when we feel kind of disconnected from our true journey, everything feels hopeless. And all we got is what we feel and our problems, because we get so like nearsighted and short-sighted that everything that's going on is just pain. And that will kind of like be the biggest thing ever because we have no sense of context. You have no sense of journey or landscape. So when we're then incarcerated in this extremely subjective state of disconnectedness, our feelings and emotions are the biggest in the world because that will become our world. Right? So it's natural for humans today to be depressed. It's important to understand it's not natural. It's a product of the civilization. So you can sit with your depression and understand, oh, it's a state of connectedness because we've lost the true connection within, true connection with our roots. And what you need to understand then is, as a spiritual being, you know exactly why you incarnate. You know exactly the journey you're on. This is an expedition. And you've been looking forward to it because it's fun. But through this civilization, we disconnect more and more. But you can reconnect by learning to work with spiritual practices, learning to grow into the nature of you. And then gradually you will find your way back. So you can truly never lose your sense of direction or your journey because you're living it. You're on it. You're in it. But the subjective self does not understand it anymore. So the solution is spiritual practices, meditation, learning how also to work with the seasons, and understand that state of depression, when you sit with it and you also realize, oh, okay, this is a temporary state due to my disconnectedness. And if I practice, if I allow myself to be a spiritual being, if I allow myself to connect to my roots, I will gradually connect. And my brain will grow out of depression. Because when we are in a state of connectedness, it is impossible to experience depression. So there is always kind of hope. And the hope is basically just learn how to do it, right? But I think so many of the different pains and types of suffering humans are experiencing today are just silly. It's because everything we do is unnatural. When we are living, breathing nature, right? That's why I say spiritual work is to move back. It's to restore the natural you, restore natural behavior, restore natural ways of thinking and being, and restore natural emotions and how we are, how we express, how we relate to our inner worlds. And when we do, we will find balance, we will find healing. But, work is needed, which is what I'm trying to offer all of you.
Okay, we have a question in the audience.
So I'm going back to your intro about the dying process for the week and the strong things going to grow again in the springtime. And I was sitting and reflecting on the dying process about not controlling it, how to let it happen, the way you talk about being grounded in the reality and actually let not my assumptions and thoughts about things decide more than nature. Mm-hmm. So can you give some tips about it?
Well, back to seeing each year as a lifetime. I think like when we leave a lifetime, we leave everything. But once we leave a lifetime, we don't see it as leaving. We see it as I bring with me everything I actually produced, which is the transformation of me. We see the rest, we see it. Even people are just grains of sand in our own process. So when we leave a lifetime, it's not like we take our favorite people with us, right? We leave alone. But we're not leaving, we're going into a state of connectedness. And then we enter a new lifetime with maybe new people, a new setting, new everything. Because that is then the correct rendering of our exact state of evolution. And it's like that. So when something is dying, we just have to let it die. Because as I've explained, manifestation can only exist for as long as it holds potential. When there is something there, it's basically just like a textbook in school, right? Think of back to, your first years in school, and you got a new, math book, whatever. The moment it's done, right? You've solved all the equations, you've filled in everything, and you can't use it anymore. Because now when you look at it, you've solved all of it. There's nothing more. So at that point, the manifestation is dead. Life is holding potential that has not yet come into being. So when a manifestation can mirror and hold that for you, it will be alive in your existence. The moment you have solved the puzzles or the equation, whatever it is, and it's done, that form can no longer exist for you. It doesn't mean that a person in your life will then die, but they will no longer hold growth potential in your journey, and therefore your relationship with them will die. And it's completely natural when we say everything is life and death, and everything in between. Right? But understand for as long as something holds potential, meaning that there is something there you haven't learned, something that can bring you healing or transformation, it will still be there. But once that is done, it's dead. And if you hold on to it, you're simply blocking your next journey. And as a spiritual being, as soul, as Atma, whatever you want to call it, it's all you want, it's all you do, because you're fully aware that it's the transformation within. It's the unfoldment of you. That is the journey. So spiritually, we're very relaxed about all of that. And it's the same thing in the fall when you see leaves on the tree turning brown and they're falling off. It's not like you have a major crisis. Oh no, they're falling, let me find the glue, they should be back on. You know, you don't do that. Because why would you? You know there will be new leaves next year. Right? We enjoy them during the spring and the summer, but when the leaves fall, it's because, you know, it's done. It means also the tree is extracting all the juices down into the roots. And so it is in our lives. So you cannot make a brown leaf turn green again. It's impossible. It holds no potential. Right? And when we understand this and we can look at life this way, it's so simple. Because it's not like life will run out of potential. Right? It's just where we look for it. And when a form is done, it's done. It means that life has something else in store. Again, life will never run out of potential, and neither will you. But leaves will come and go, forms will come and go. But they have to hold potential. It's that simple.
Yes, all right. In Chinese medicine, there are different organs connected with each season, and each season also represents an element like water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And then, can you say something about the relevance of this in modern days? Also, the different seasons represent ages of our lives. It is wise, for instance, to cleanse the different organs related to the seasons and elements, things like that, please.
Now, I would say because we live very different lives now, some people respond more to this than others. So I think it's also important that we listen if we're drawn to a certain system, a certain way of looking at things, certain diets, certain whatever it is. Well, explore there. It may hold potential for you, right? So we should explore and just figure out how we work, because there are so many different ways of relating to life, so many different ways of working with our healing. And sometimes we need this, sometimes we need that. You know, for instance, sometimes if you were working on, let's say just in theory, like that you have karma from a Chinese incarnation, then it will be very drawn to whatever models and approaches they use there. For as long as you're working on that karma, and maybe also something else, right? But you will be drawn to different spaces based on how they mirror your karma, right? And it's simply a matter of engaging in life intentionally and exploring and figuring things out. So, I think for most people, again, just learning to relate to the seasons is more than enough, and then you can just do it as become as sophisticated as you want to be. But I will not go into all that now because it can be more confusing than clarifying. I would say for most people, think of also when you let things die in your life. It also means that your body is changing, your organs are changing, because you may be then processing things differently, right? When you understand, I'm to change my direction, I'm to develop different strategies, different dreams, different visions. And when you understand, your body will begin to prepare itself for that journey. And then it's a good time also to detox and to let go of things. And this is also part of the healing. Now, I basically like 4 steps of winter healing. And we can look at the first one, as I said, it's basically just stop injuring yourself, which means stop working against yourself. Listen. Take time to reflect. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. So we talked about that. That's the first step. And then you begin to let go. Because like when we let go, it doesn't mean that our past all of a sudden will disappear. This is a misunderstanding that many people have. When I let go, everything is gone. No. It simply means that you are no longer holding on to it. Right? So letting go is not a power move. I let go, so there, it's gone. No. It means that you are not actively holding on. It does not change whether or not it's still present to you. So, often as we talked about, we hold on to dead leaves. Or holding on to leaves that are about, to fall from the tree, and we create this story of, I need to save it. And it's a complete waste of time. So when we're not holding on, we're allowing nature to do what it does. So we hold on to places, people, and things out of habit, out of how we associate and what type of identity we have, how we've been married, like all of this. And we hold on to things that are painful more than good things, which is also so funny, right? If something is painful, we choose to hold on to it for dear life. So learning to let go is a part of winter as well. Because it means you can let things die. You can let nature move things around. You can let your higher consciousness reconfigure, right? So basically, let go and let die. And whatever is part of your journey forward will stay, right? If it's not part of your path forward, it will disappear. So that neutral state is a state of forgiveness. When you let go and let die, you forgive. Forgiveness is a state where it's just like, phew. You have no stories. That's really what forgiveness is. I release my own stories about this. So that's a practice of healing. Then the next step is understand your own responsibilities. You are the only responsible presence in your journey. And the rest are just justifications and excuses and stories. Learn to take responsibility. Because like what we often do in this civilization, because we have no sense of true responsibility, because we don't understand our journeys. We don't understand what to take responsibility for. Everything is meaningless. And then we just like do stuff and then we die. But the thing is, if you are behind the wheel driving, and you say, well, I'm not the driver here, of course you will crash. And then you blame your passengers, right? This is pretty much what humans are doing at this point. Because everyone in your life, they're kind of on your bus, right? You're driving, and then you pretend you're not. It doesn't change the fact that you're behind the wheel. So learning that you are the driver, and that you want to be the driver, and learning to want to make decisions, and to be the one in charge. This is important to also achieve a higher level of healing, because you cannot heal for as long as you blame anyone. For as long as you do not understand that you are the only one behind the wheel in your life. So wanting and taking that responsibility is an incredibly important step in healing. You cannot heal as a victim. because a victim does not want healing, because healing is empowerment and becoming aware that you're behind the wheel. So until you want to be the driver, you will never heal. So part of the winter is also make yourself more aware of that. And then where do you want to drive? What passengers do you want? You know, what life do you want to create? And want to take full responsibility. And the next step is make changes in direction of healing. Look at your strategies. This is part of visionary work. Look at your life strategies. Self-medication is not healing. Making yourself feel good is not healing. It is compensation for not taking responsibility. You need strategies. Your pain, your suffering comes from terrible decision-making, terrible strategies, right? And a lack of the sense of what your journey is. So, healing also means establishing better practices, better habits, better decisions for you. And then you need to understand who you are and what your journey is, because if not, it's not meaningful. So it goes back to you need to connect to your roots. You need to connect to what this lifetime is. But as we stated in the beginning, that true healing is the ability to be in harmony so that you cause no harm to yourself or others. Well, until you get there, you've got some repair work to do. So do that. Look at the different strategies you have around healing, medical attention, how you work with your body, your mind, your emotions. Don't complain, do something, right? Seek out therapists, work on your diets, learn, educate yourself. Make changes that you see as beneficial for you in the direction of strengthening yourself, empowering yourself, healing so that you may become a good driver, right? So work on your diets, work with your organs, your states, your emotions, and understand yourself. In today's world, it doesn't come naturally because we don't live in a natural world. So working with therapists, exploring diets, whatever is necessary, please do. And it's also a natural part of winter as you are letting things die and then also figuring, how can I do better, right? Better strategies. So try to look at whatever can improve your life. Not from a compensation point of view. Say, well, I need this because I feel bad. That is not healing. How can you become the person that does not need healing? That's the goal. If we're in a victim state, oh, I'm so sensitive, I can't deal with this, then you're a victim. A healed individual does not need healing. Will be strong, confident, independent, and fully aware of what they are doing and why. And they're happy and joyful and feel powerful while living their lives the way they want to. Right? And this is an important step in spiritual work as well. So, do the repair work, and also through that, learn how to maintain health and healing. So, the last step is learn about you. When you've done the repair work, you should also learn, how can I live in such a way that I keep growing my state of healing, growing my consciousness, growing my sense of purpose and direction, so I can grow into self-mastery in my life. Because that is ultimately healing. So you need to invest in how you understand yourself and your patterns and your true needs and your karma and all of that. And that is spiritual work. essentially. And you need to invest in it, because this civilization will teach you nothing. It will teach you thousands of different ways you can produce more suffering, how you can produce more harm, but it will teach you nothing about healing. And it's important that you understand. There is nothing in this civilization that can help you. So, we need to invest in understanding ourselves. And when you think of this lifetime and your journey as an expedition, right? If you went on an expedition and you had your expedition SUV, right? When people do this, they need to do all the repairs themselves because there are no service people around. They need to have repair kits, spare parts, everything they need. And they need to be able to fix everything on their own, including small surgeries, right? Because there's nobody. And this is how we should think about our lives. We need to become skilled in being us. Back to depression, right? Often when we are in depression, it's a sense of having lost our power. We feel powerless. We don't know what to do. And life is an expedition. It's supposed to be fun and interesting. But when we don't learn how to do anything, we're not able to repair, we're not able to heal, and we have to be self-reliant. And then we implode. So empowerment is not standing up for yourself, is becoming highly skilled in the art of being you and living from the true self, living from the core, living from the roots. Right? And this is also part of the work you can do in winter. So it's take that step back, getting that overview, like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. Look at your life strategies, figure out how can I improve, how can I become the expert on being me and fulfill my potential. Because it's all there. In your higher consciousness, you're already aware. Right? So let it bake in you, but give it time. If you try to run around, be very productive in winter, it's not the season. Nature will not support it. And you will fail. Right? This is the season for inner work, for calm, and then also for connectedness with those who actually mean something to us. This is also why, of course, often family conflicts get to peak levels during winter, because we all connect with what is important to us. And because we're all injured and depressed and whatever it is, then we have conflicts. Right? When we have a higher level of life skills, we can connect with those who are part of our journey, and we can feel a deeper love than often we do during the summer. It's a sense of togetherness, but when we all feel lost, we all feel disconnected, we feel rejected, and so do other people. Right? No one will come to save you. You have to build these skills from within. Right? And when you invest in this, you will be able to be a presence during winter for other people's pain, because you can be there as someone who can connect. So they may feel seen. They may feel understood, instead of two people being in pain of feeling rejection and disconnect and blaming each other. You may become the person who can represent the healing path forward for all of you. So the true kind of healing powers of winter is that you end a cycle and start a new one. So don't just continue, because that's the alternative. That's when we end up going in circles, and many people are. Each circle, each round has the potential of becoming a spiral, each year being a higher level than last year. So you then have to look at what do I end, what do I start, right? And that's the true kind of superpower of winter, for you to become intentional in that. It doesn't just happen, it has the potential. And then you can learn to kind of work with it. Do we have any more questions?
We do. We have a very fundamental question. What is your best tool to go inward?
It depends on the person. But any practice that carries the intention of moving inward will help you do so. Again, for some people, it's as easy as sitting down, doing nothing, and just and then begin to reflect and think and connect, because it happens naturally. Of course, this is how people learned how to meditate, because that's really the start of meditation. Meditation is doing this intentionally, learning techniques, so how to really utilize that natural potential we have for deeper connection. But for me, I strongly advise every single person in this world and wherever else to learn how to meditate. If you don't have a meditational practice, you're basically lost. It's just how it is. So meditation, meditation, meditation. And the more we meditate, the more we understand that reflection, contemplation, different ways, different states that connects us deeper, we then already have an awareness of our inner worlds. So we may utilize just sitting down for a moment and reflect, and we can get things through because our inner system is open, right? But just like any skill, we have to practice. So I always say there is no right or wrong way to meditate. Just meditating will figure it out. Over time, if you really want that inner connection to open up your inner worlds, it will happen. If you meditate in a way that doesn't quite do it for you, you will also understand that after a while. You can then adjust your technique or learn, different ways to do it more efficiently for you. But it's a matter of not giving up, not trying, but deciding to learn how to open up your inner worlds, open up your inner connectedness, so that you have access to your higher consciousness, so that you have the ability to connect to nature, to the world, and different positions in yourself, so you may understand your path, your purpose, and how to do it in the most productive way. So, but there are so many tools, like dream work can be wonderful. Also, being with others can also be a way to go deeper when there is a love connection, just being out in nature. Sometimes it can also be listening to something that is inspiring. For some people, it's also reading a book. It's also when they go into a deeper state. So it's not like either we're in the outer world or the inner. Like, we have so many modalities in our consciousness. And I would try to inspire as many people as possible to explore our different states, because the worst state we can be in is consumerism. This passive state where we're consuming other people's emotions, other people's ideas, other people's manifestations, and we become even more disconnected and empty. We have to switch ourselves on. We are creating living beings. But we have to kind of relearn how to do this as humans, because this civilization is so far away from it, and we're all harmed. We're all injured, and we all need healing. And we need to get on track with how to do this in a way that actually gives result, because it's not difficult. But we have to learn how to do it for real, and this is also what I teach. You get results. You get long-term results, irreversible results. Now, before taking more questions, I would like to invite our guest today, Nora. And what we will be talking about is the weather forecast, because you're working with astrology.
Yes.
And not just astrology, it's Shrishti astrology. This is a type of astrology that goes back to ancient times and focusing on the individual as the divine creator. Because the interesting thing about astrology today is that it focuses a lot on you as a person living in this world. Well, this type of astrology focusing on you as the creator of this world. It starts with a bigger picture. And the way I often explain astrology, and especially this type of astrology, is that when we think of the universes as one organism, everything being oneness, everything being connected, it means that whatever is happening in the outer world is happening inside of us. Right? As we talked about, the seasons are happening inside of us as well as around us. And it means that everything is basically, big wheels, smaller wheels, tiny wheels of the same machinery. Meaning that we can see the same mechanisms everywhere. So when we look at the universe, we can see the same mechanisms spread out, but it's also happening inside of us. So when we start with the premise that we're all one organism together, and life being this mathematical algorithm in infinite expression, we can look at everything around us and we can also see ourselves. So, and in this type of astrology, you then start with a big picture and then look at what's actually life trying to show us, what are the potentials. So, what is the weather forecast for this particular winter?
For this winter season. Yeah. It's very interesting to see how it supports everything you say with all the orbits of the planets is so predictable. And we need predictability to look for our path and really see that we can connect to a bigger picture and navigate. So when we look at the orbits of the planets, and there are some specific this season, like every time when there's a full moon and a new moon until Christmas or the holidays, Uranus lines up close to the Earth. And Uranus has a very different qualities by the poles being sidewards. It offers a glitch into higher consciousness if you look for it. And then when we know that Earth and Uranus is so close and all we can see is the sun lighting up the moon, we get a really close contact to the nature that we truly are. And then by navigating by that, where am I disconnecting? Where am I actually producing pain by believing in disconnect? And if we try to tune ourselves, and like you talked about, investing in the healing, seeing that the first phase of the winter time is the Scorpio phase, where we have to inject the medicine instead of being the poison in our life. And then we have to really be intimate with life, wanting to get close. Where am I in a misunderstanding? What am I not seeing here?
Right. And one thing that's interesting when it comes to medicine and poison is it's like you can buy the best food. If you keep it in the fridge for long enough, you will die from eating it. Right? When we hold on to things, it may have been the most wonderful thing ever. At some point, it will wither and die. And if we eat what has died, it will be poison. Right? So often we say like holding on will always lead to a path where we poison ourselves. Because when something does not hold the life potentials anymore, it will be poison. When it does hold potential, it will bring life. And it can be the same thing. It's just a matter of timing. As we know, you can die from drinking water. It's just a matter of amount. Right? So everything that represents medicine can also represent poison. Right? And it's learning how to navigate. Right? And what is the healing point? What is the healing intention? Right? So it's like simply put, like when we found what we think is the best thing ever, at some point, it's poison. It doesn't matter what it is. Everything has a lifespan in your journey, and therefore we cannot hold on. Life will always give you medicine. When we hold on, we can turn everything into poison. It's learned to have that kind of clarity in our process.
And that transformation that we always change, let
Yeah.
things die, new perspective. And when I came to the conclusion that and understood through studying with you that astrology is actually a tool for consciousness.
Yes.
It's not for my person, how I am, how I look and how I behave. It's my consciousness and it has to change.
Yes.
So in a poisonous situation, I would stay in something too long and make it my permanent belief. But by going into a situation with openness and then also with this attitude, oh, where am I disconnecting from life instead of offering life and circulation to the situation?
And often what we do is exactly that. That's what we talk about. We try to force our flow into something that's already dead. You know, because we want this to be the thing. You know, I've been working so hard for this and then nothing. Well, you're not the one to decide. If it's dead, it's dead, right? And again, life will only give you medicine. The human mind will always, through attachment, turn it into poison. When we understand this fully, we will seek the medicine and we will not hold on, and we will kind of be more interested in what has life in store for me. Instead of trying to force the flow to go into what we are attached to. Because attachment is the true illness. It is the illness of all illnesses. You can look at whatever illness or sickness or suffering, and if you trace it back, it's attachment. Because then the flow can't be there. And we suffer because there's no flow. And life is trying to offer you medicine, offer you the path forward, but we can't see it because we want it to be this. And life says, no, that's not your path, that's not your purpose. And yet we hold on because now it's all we've got. And then we poison ourselves. And we do this again and again and again. So then we die instead of the leaves. Right? And it's kind of learning how to kind of use this and then be strategic. Now, can you say something? What is specific about winter this year?
Saturn and Neptune are moving very close together. And that offers the unique mirroring that life will talk very clearly. If we are stuck, if we look at empty boxes or things that are already dead, life will mirror it back as emptiness. This has no meaning. There is nothing here. What can I search to find meaning? But that's actually the sign, move on. So those two work in really combination to assist us with short and big and small manifestations that we should make notice of to recognize where am I stuck.
Yes.
That's one of the big ones.
Yes, exactly. And back to the point of attachment, because this is real important this winter, is then when we have attachment and when we understand that is the illness, we often seek something else to attach ourselves to, right? But attachment will turn anything into poison. So when life will offer us medicine, often what life is showing us is in a state where you cannot attach, meaning that you don't have the power of definition. It will be part of life, and that you have to adjust. So, especially this winter, it is about you looking at what are you attached to that you should let go of. And understand, do not try to replace it with something else you can latch onto. Understand that you have to let go of attachment and then try to adjust to what life is offering that is alive and flowing, meaning that you cannot hold on. So learning to not, because like if you find something you're comfortable attaching to, it's already beginning to die. And this is why you will then replace an empty box with a new empty box. Because that you can control, right? So we have to try to understand that, yeah, for as long as we try to control, when we're blinded by our needs, we will do more of the same. So it's important this winter especially to be aware of this. Look for the empty boxes in your life. Look at your attachment and understand that it's not about finding something new to attach to. It's trying to allow yourself to be in the flow, let life guide you, and let life place you.
And with that, then it also activates our feeling of dying, which is a Pluto energy,
Yes.
belonging also to Scorpio context.
Yeah. And
Like
those
we
two
think
combination can be very dramatic.
of course, and
Yes.
then you feel you're dying.
Yes.
But it's also about the person of me letting go of my current perspective. So I do die, but it's just a
Yes.
perspective.
Yes.
And then I have this spiritual approach to looking inside and really going deep and be intimate will assist a different healing. Instead of me as Nora being this way, I could heal my consciousness and then move along. So
Exactly.
it really works in combination.
Yeah. Are there any other aspects
Oh,
of this
yeah.
particular winter?
Yes, Venus is very close to the sun. And for a long time, Venus has been the really beautiful star because close to the sun and with all the gases around, it looks beautiful. But it's also an indicator what we make beautiful, which is actually our worst patterns that we don't recognize because we think it's beautiful. It's me. It's who I am.
Vanity.
Vanity.
Yes. So Venus, like this winter, is also about looking at our vanity, because vanity will block us, right? Vanity is also attachment to identity and who we think we should be and their projection onto the world. And that will be heightened this winter. And that is also blocking us, right? Because often what gives us more life is not necessarily what will make us look better in the eyes of other people, right? If we want to heal, sometimes we have to make choices that will make us look less in the eyes of other people, right? So Venus right now will address that part. So this is something we should all be looking at also this winter. And can we let go of at least a little bit of our vanity, right? Because we should just be honest, like vanity is part of being human. It's part of trying to both be part of a social setting, a function in society, and be someone to other people. But winter is also about moving into honesty and truth. So right now with Venus is interesting to see, like that is, the sun is now showing also Venus as a blockage, you know, because it's also blocking, meaning that your connection to truth will be influenced by your own vanity instead of your beauty, because vanity and beauty can be very connected, right? But beauty is often when it's natural and true. And when that turns into vanity, is actually quite ugly. So it means that those types of kind of karmic patterns will be heightened in your process this winter.
And then the will to rise.
Yes.
Which also is a higher state of Venus.
Exactly.
That you really can use the willpower when you meditate, when you go inside and really want to find the cause for why am I seeing world like this? Why do I believe in this vanity or whatever you think is beautiful? Then it can also really assist you in where am I will to rise from this vanity that doesn't
Yes.
bring me solid navigational tools for what I can bring along as consciousness growth and healing instead of vanity that is short-term gratification.
Yes. And it's also understanding that it means, especially this winter, when you look at her vanity patterns, when you are able to let go of some of your vanity, the Venus energy will let you rise. It will just will be like a rubber duck underwater. So understand that vanity energy is like that in itself. When you focus on that and try to let go, the Venus energy will begin to lift you. So those potentials of your true beauty can show more clearly when you let go of vanity. And how vanity is also how we think things should be. This is very important to me, right? Life doesn't care, right? Is it true, right? So it's like trying to let go of all of that. And the Venus energies, then you can rise. So the doorway this winter in this energy is like, look at these patterns, how you think things should be, because this is who you are, type of thing. Let it die, let go of it, and just understand then there will be a door that opens that can assist you in moving into more of your true beauty.
The gate that opens as the sun is in the 3 weeks of same declination, around the holidays. We are at the lowest point, so we see the sun very low. That is also a gate that stretches a bit of the time, so we can look at Jupiter, which is really full of the gases, that really shows us where we create ripples, where we create something that starts with what I do, but it becomes bigger because it creates something for others. So that's also observation point of our talents. And what you said earlier, that first we meet the talents in our perception. Oh, my idea is so beautiful, and then we start doing it, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
But then we start to distrust and untrust ourselves. So this is also phase around holidays and after, all the bold wishes we make, that we actually make them come alive by trusting our intuition, trusting our inner guidance, and not giving up, because the first steps are always the hardest. So that activates a lot of our daring to be authentic.
Yeah, and the Jupiter has an enormous potential willpower. Once we connect, and it's also, as you know, when we know this is my path, we can have an enormous sense of dedication and strength. And Jupiter can assist with that, bring something from thought and potential and solidifying, and then knowing this is what it's supposed to do, right? So we can feel this sense of purpose and sense of like, this is my mission. But bring it from the clouds, bring from like the gas state, which is like an early, a kind of like more loose type of matter, right? And then bring it in. So it has this enormous willpower to go from the vision state, an idea, to actually carry it through. And when you can use that in your visionary work, it means this season, this year, you will have the support of that energy in your system. So it's easier to go from clarity, vision, plan, and then execution, and stick with a plan, stick with a path, and be able to have that endurance. And then
there are always some energy in all the signs. So then knowing what we just did, instead of being in the moment, but knowing your competence and rise to the occasion and start to ground it. That comes in with the earth being so important in the beginning of the year. So we ground it, we are present with ourselves and really solidify. And where do we disconnect all the time? It's actually a study in itself. So that's the earth.
Now, all of this, and there are more things, but I'd like just to address it. Next year is a year where everything matters. It's one of the things that mark this cycle that we're moving into that year, where you can't just play around anymore. Now it's serious. So it means that also when you look at the planets and how they support, it's to enable you to become clear, more focused, more adult, understanding you can't just like waste your chances. This year, things matter. And you also see this on the planet, politically in different ways, that there will be decisions made that will have historic consequences. So it will be in your own life. So the decisions you make now and the vision work you do now will matter. Right? So you should try to be strategic, have good plans, be aware of like where do you want to go in your life, what do you want to manifest, and understand that you should not just play around. This is the year that we're moving into where things will have consequences. That should be a good thing. So if you are able to work with intention and clarity and understand more of what you want for real, when you do your spiritual practice and when you go into your own depth and you dedicate your life to, okay, I want to walk my path for real now. I want to do what matters, right? I'm done with this goofing around. This is the year. So the planets are also showing that, it's preparing us for that. And it's an opportunity, right? And this is what's so wonderful about working with astrology, is that we can become more aware of, this is actually the playing field now. So for all of you, try to like sharpen your focus and attention and use this winter truly to get more of a grip, right? And then understand that the planetary energies will then assist you in solidifying, taking things seriously in the way that you're dedicated and that you're doing it for real and that you stand for who you are and what your journey is. Okay?
And then on the new year, the cleansing of the body that you mentioned, that will actually ground it by solidifying with detox. And that's not just because we are unpure, which would be a very religious way to see it, but it's the matter that we have no more space for new consciousness to enter ourselves.
It's also cleansing out the consequence of what's dead, right? Because as I explained, your body is not just a living organism, it's a process. And it will adjust to whatever you are doing, whatever connections you have, whatever is in your life, because your body is the instrument of your journey. So, and it takes time. So when you have done something, when you have related to certain manifestations or movements, this is what your body will be. So it's also a matter of cleansing out the old so that the body can kind of like realign and adjust and build itself to be the best vehicle for your journey forward and not be attached to the past. So this is also why detoxing is such an important tool in all spiritual work.
And then we come to the 18th of January when there is a new moon.
Yes.
And it's a supermoon. It's very close to the Earth. That's what's happening astronomical-wise. When it's close, it appears bigger. But it has something we have talked about that really, when it projects itself very close, here I am, this is nature, look at me, I'm present. And then realize we have some distance here and we have distracted ourselves and disconnected in so many ways to nature. This opens a window for a new phase, really to lift our consciousness and meditate. Where am I holding on to disconnect? In whatever way, and bring the abundance that we have experienced through Christmas and holidays and Thanksgiving, really open heart to give more than we want to receive and always be in dialogue with life more than presenting ourselves.
Yes.
So that's also one particular thing in January.
Yeah. Because also when you have a moon that's really close, think of that as the face of the subconscious. That's one very simple way of explaining it. And it means that a lot of these inner processes that's also happening on this planet, and the moon being a mirror and a reminder of that, when it's closer, it's that face showing like, okay, you know, what are we doing here? So it becomes the watcher, just like our subconscious and higher consciousness is also the observer of the planet, of your life. And as I'm saying, in January, that element of your own consciousness will be more active. The observer, they're saying like, what are you doing, right? Are you on track? It's supposed to help you reflect more and show that, you're not getting away, right? You are being watched. You're being observed. Are you making the right decisions, right? Are you living truthfully? So it's that presence mirroring, our inner process, so it may become more apparent and more clear, and also become awareness, like in the kind of active part of the brain, active part of the mind, because again, this next year will be a really important one.
And the state of abundance, instead of being something we seek outside, by cleansing the body, the new moon, the phase of realizing it's all in us, that's also active in January. And then we have a healing potential to be in harmony with life as we have a moon moving into Aries, and we get what we don't want. How much have we learned? How much light have I managed to build up in myself, not looking for outside?
Yes.
So January is really a tuning phase for this way of...
But if you just explain a little bit around that with the Aries, because that's really fun. Now, because it is also, as like getting more of what we don't want, it's also life testing you to make you more aware. Because remember that often when we say, I want to do this, and then we start moving, and then life is trying to throw us off. Do you have the strength? Have you actually thought this through? because this means that you will have to be dedicated. You will need to be aware. So often there will then be things happening to both make us aware and throw us off. Because when we're thrown off, we have to, well, this is what I'm doing. We will not let ourselves be distracted. If it's just fluff, we will be distracted and we'll kind of lose everything. So it means that we will all be tested when it comes to then bringing in our strategies and plans into this world. And again, we will be tested. Are you doing this for real? Are you dedicated? Do you actually have a plan? And if it's too weak, you will be thrown off. And then you will have to do something about it. So the purpose is to strengthen you, for you to see all the weaknesses in how you carry out your own path. So you may need to adjust. You may need to, oh, right, I have a weakness there. Oh, this needs to be improved. So you will succeed, because that is the goal here, right? But understand this also will happen in the kind of like the first kind of weeks of the year, that when you then try to test out your strategies and when you want to have this type of dedication, life will begin to test you. So this is a kind of collective thing happening on this planet.
Yeah, and then Jupiter continues this inner side. We can really connect to what illusions did I believe in since this was happening? Why was I thrown off? Why did I believe this was? How could I build strength, but also to trust myself even more, to trust the plan more than my own person.
Exactly.
Yeah. So stick to the plan. Stick to the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the whole point here, is to strengthen you, which means again you need to have intention, sense of roots, where you're going and why, and be dedicated to your purpose. Understand that inside in your inner worlds, in higher consciousness, it's all there. Right? All the suffering we're experiencing today is because we have been pulled out from a natural center by the civilization. And through spiritual practice and spiritual work, you may find your kind of way back into the driver's position in full awareness. And then you can work with nature. This is the wonderful thing about astrology, is that you can learn how to work with nature and the potentials in your own process. Right now, because now we're talking about the general, movements that apply to all of us. But on an individual level, this also applies to your individual path, and we can then start high up and look at the bigger picture, and you can get the logic. As I often say, that people need to know that there is a plan, because people today, they don't connect with it because they can't see it. There is a divine plan. Life has a plan for you. There is purpose. Right? It's just this culture is disconnected. Life is not. It's one organism and you're a part of it. So there is a plan. There is purpose. You have a path. You have a spiritual curriculum that you're studying. There is logic. And this type of astrology can assist you in seeing it. So it can, in a way, be shown to you, so you can understand how to better kind of utilize what life is giving to you in order to walk your path in the best way possible. Do you have any more kind of fun things?
The fun thing would be that up till equinox in March is that all the things we do now, the more we stick to the plan, stick to doing our inner work, the more we will explore that. We have a bag of seeds that are unique, that are long-lasting, and that can be planted into fruitful soil in the spring. So this, knowing that is a long-term goal for what we're doing this winter. It's not just random, it's very particular. The precision and the honesty we give ourselves, and meeting up, showing up every day with the same intention to heal ourselves and expand our consciousness is what will bring good seeds to the ground.
And it's also fun when we understand more about kind of the movement. This space of life is not consistent. It's always different information, different vibration. It goes up and down, expands, contracts, and there's this information, that information, and we can see it also through the planet, not just in the solar system, but also going into this whole galaxy. And it means that every day, every week, every month, you can then relate to the different kind of energies that are coming into your life and your path. So, you know, one week, a particular energy may be very present then. It's a different energy. And it means that when you understand it, you can then invest. Now this is where the process is. Now you can focus on that thing. Now this should be what you focus on. Now this will be coming up. Now these types of issues will come. Now we'll be tested this way. And then we can show up for that instead of letting it hit us in the face every time and not understanding anything, because then we're constantly in reaction. When we understand more of the path and the pathways, we can show up, we can be proactive, we can be prepared. So that we kind of show up for class, knowing which class we've shown up in, what we're supposed to do there. And it is so important, I think, that people get to understand more of their life's paths and how to, in a way, get back on the horse, right? Which is, we've lost it in the seventh civilization. But with this type of astrology, you can get that experience, and it will be fun to show up, and you will see how these different energies work in your life because they're already doing it. It's just through our culture we know nothing. And astrology today has often become too much bullshit. It's too much focused on you just in your life and focusing on your relationships. Like, it's too low. It's really understanding how the universe expresses itself and how you're a part of it, and your job and your purpose in the universe and how that translates into your life. It's much more purposeful and a lot more interesting, and you'll also get a sense of logic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The difference between being dragged behind the bus instead of...
And being run over.
Yeah, yeah, by the bus. And instead really use the will to move forward and say, I am the creator, I drive this bus, where do I want to go? And stick to the plan so you don't drive any other routes but your own.
Yeah.
It's a marvelous tool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But astrology used to be like this. When it was first introduced to humans, it was a lot bigger. But as human consciousness has become more and more narrow, humans focus more and more on how to control, how to have their way, how to create a certain sense of predictability. So it's all about the control and self-centeredness. So what we're doing in this type of astrology is the opposite.
What was the name again?
Srishti astrology. Yeah. And Srishti is a Sanskrit word that simply means like divine creation. So it's creation, and it's understanding that the universe is not done. It's an ongoing process that we're all part of. So this term means that you, as the creator, are creating the universe. You are part of it, right? You're a pulsating, breathing part of the universe, and that translates into your life. You cannot understand your life as a human from a human perspective, which is most forms of astrology relating to that. So this starts with you as a divine creator and how you have chosen to express yourself in alignment based on your purpose in the universe. And then how does that express itself through the human potential, and how can we work with it? So it's this goes kind of back to the roots of what astrology kind of used to be. And for many people who have been involved with astrology, this is a real eye-opener because it is reintroducing kind of lost levels of astrology. So how has that been for you, opening those boxes?
It's been marvelous and also challenging because the first thing you learn, you tend to believe very hard. And then unlearning and seeing that what I learned in traditional astrology brought me to a certain point, and then I was hitting the ceiling. It didn't bring me the results because it defined me. And it could give me predictability to looping. And then seeing that by lifting it into spiritual awareness, I could take one modality and say, hey, you have to swap your how to.
Yeah.
You have to do a different way. There is a plan. Act in an opposite way, for instance, of what you think is natural, and then you will have the result. But I didn't have it on the first go or not on the second.
right.
So it's then sticking with endurance over time, knowing that things will start to change over time. That was also a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important that people understand that there is a divine plan, right? Because today people are aimless. And part of depression is that we don't know what's my place, what am I supposed to do, and we want to feel valuable. And just for people to see and connect with, and we can prove it to them, that there is a plan, there is a path, and this is how you do it. That in and of itself, to me, is beautiful. And it consists people in living their lives in a so much more productive way, and also, again, get behind the wheel, get back on the horse, whatever you want to call it, and have that sense of freedom where you can show up and knowing what you're showing up for. Because life is supposed to be fun. Our journeys are supposed to be marvelous expeditions of wonder and beauty. And today people are just suffering instead, right? And it's because we're always behind. Life's always hitting us in the face because we haven't learned how to show up. So everything catches us by surprise in a negative way, and therefore we hold on to everything. So we have to learn to live in a different way, in flow, in consciousness, and we will discover that we are on a spiritual path. There is a plan, there is purpose, and you can completely learn and grow into the awareness of it. And your life can be beautiful and wonderful, coming from truth and from your center. And you may experience yourself as the creator, not just of your own life, but that you have a place as a creator in the universe. And this type of astrology can assist you in understanding that map. That's what we have for today, unless we have some questions in relation to this.
We did get a question directly about your conversation now. Could you please go more deeply into the next year is very important part? There's no more playing around next year. If I'm in a state right now where I really don't know where I am going and I'm depressed, is now this winter the absolute important time for healing and planting seeds?
There is a reason why we chose to talk about this now. It's because this is a kind of point in the collective consciousness on this planet, and it means it carries certain spiritual potential. But yes, it is really important that we all begin to wake up and understand what's happening on this planet. Not from an alarmist point of view, but from the potential of what's coming. The old civilization is dying and a new one is being, birthed. And it's wonderful. If you wake up to the potential and what's being both channeled and incarnated on this planet, it's absolutely amazing. So do not hold on to the old world that is dying. Move into the new one. And that's a job for all of us. But this is real. This is what has been planned for thousands and thousands of years, that this slow transition from this old civilization to a higher vibration is happening. And in this whole phase that will last until like the middle of next century, there will be so many wonderful potentials, and everything will move faster. But next year represents a point in human history where things will matter. Just like the energies will change, right? Sometimes information changes in the energy and the spaces and what we collectively and individually will be tested on, right? So it means that when we really focus on building better strategies, when we have better goals, when we dedicate ourselves to our true path, and when we try to bring that into the world, nature will support it. But it also means that there will be a higher kind of level of challenges. So if you do your homework, if you do dedicate time to inner work this winter, and we're really trying to assess what is your life, what you want it to be, and if you're struggling with depression, seek help, do everything you can, like do spiritual work, learn more about it, come to the therapist here at the center, and also Nora can also give sessions in astrology, also helping all of you to understand more of your map. We have so many tools. We have courses, we have a lot of things you can learn and you can work with to become better at mastering your own path. But yes, next year will matter. And that's not something we can choose or not. It's basically where this planet is in its own journey, and we're part of it. So what we do next year will matter for all of us. So make it matter. See that as a potential when we then focus on the things that point forward, things that are uplifting, things that will represent who we want to be and how we want our life to be. Life will begin to support it. So the seeds we plant will be supported more. This is why we should choose the right seeds, right? So don't think of this as, oh, I need to do my work. Like, try to then focus on what are the right seeds. Understand that you will have more support next year in making the seeds you plant permanent, right? So next year you will be planting trees, not flowers. That's one way to put it. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for today. I hope you've all kind of learned something, but it's important that you all understand that we are here for you. We have at the center a lot of resources, a lot of people that can assist you in your work, in your journey, and it's for you to explore. So I hope you've found this inspiring, and focus on your inner journey. It was like, get enough rest, let life be slower, connect in every way you possibly can, dream. You can use vision boards, like do vision work. Try to reassess your life strategies. Don't hold on to old things, and recognize the leaves falling from the tree in your life, and look for the new ones. And also focus on what would you like to plant. What seeds do you feel you have inside of you that you haven't planted yet? We all have so much potential. We all have, so many talents. We have so much that we're bringing with us into this lifetime. So try to also connect with that, and try to feel and sense what seeds are they? How do I plant them? How do I bring them into the world, and how can I, get the sense of being behind the wheel in my own life? But where we are now astrologically means that life will support you in this process, and also all through next year. So allow yourself to be ambitious, allow yourself to want more, allow yourself to lift yourself to the next level, right? And see your life as an expedition. You have to be the one healing, fixing, maintaining, growing, exploring, playing. It's all you. But life will always support the one walking their true path. So don't waste your lifetime. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your time. Don't waste anything. Be true. Connect with what truly matters. Learn about your path. Plant your trees next year. And you will see that over time, your life will bear fruit.
Thank you so much, IKYA. Thank you, Nora. And thank you all for joining us tonight for IKYA Live, world news from the spiritual perspective and your premier news source for practical spiritual advice in your everyday life. We will be back with you on IKYA Live on the 2nd of March. And in the meantime, our new spirals or cycles of our primary spiritual education in IKYA Crystal or IKYA Mantra have both just begun in October. So they have just opened and are still taking new students. So if you're feeling drawn to studying directly with IKYA in the ways that we did tonight, well, please check it out at our website, ikya.org. Both IKYA Mantra and IKYA Crystal are advanced and fantastic education in sort of unfolding everything that you are. So this winter is a perfect time to dive in and really explore your potentials. So check those out, and then we're back on the 2nd of March. And until then, we wish you a really beautiful, productive, and healing wintertime.